Okay, welcome. I'm Jake Denton. This is Stories Upon Stories, Episode 2. First of all, sweatshirts, Stories Upon Stories. Like and subscribe. Second of all, yes, Billy Burns. Say hi to everyone, Billy.
How y'all doing? I'm coming to you from Antigua, Guatemala.
Let me introduce Billy, the man who needs no introduction. All right, Billy and I are best friends. We went to high school together. We went to UVA together. And we studied abroad, not together, but at the same time. And while we studied abroad, we went to Morocco together on the bus from Spain, from San Sebastian, a.k.a. God's country, where I was a student. We rode the bus back 48 hours straight, and that was a great time. And we wrote a story about it right here. This one's called Night Ride. Can you see that, Billy?
I can.
We're going to read this for episode 2 of the podcast. Tell everybody how we became friends in 8th grade and how it ties together with my grandfather in episode 1 of the Stories Upon Stories.
I transferred from public school in Virginia Beach, Virginia, over to Norfolk Academy, which was like a private prep school. But I'm like in 8th grade, and I'm really nervous about this transition. I'm trying to make friends, and I got to do my first English class book report, oral report. I have to stand up in front of all these new people I've never really met before. It's like the second week of school. And my mom had told me to read this book called When Hell Was in Session about a POW in Vietnam. It's a really killer book if you haven't read it. And so I get up there and I kind of feel pretty good. I kind of nailed this book report, and I open it up to questions, and Jake raises his hand, and, I call on Jake, and he's like, that's my grandfather. But anyway, that's how Jake and I became friends. I graduated from the University of Virginia in 1998. At that time, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I bartended all summer in Charlottesville after graduation, saved up about $4,000 or $5,000, moved to Guatemala to visit my sister. Immediately fell in love with Antigua, Guatemala, which is this amazing colonial town underneath 3 volcanoes. One of the volcanoes is erupting fiercely today. We're not in any danger, but it's pretty exciting. I ended up opening a sports bar in Antigua because I couldn't find anywhere to watch the World Series or the Super Bowl the first year I was here. So I took care of that problem. Met a girl who was going back to law school in the United States. I moved back to Charlottesville, Virginia, went to business school, but then we moved back to Antigua, Guatemala. Been here ever since. I opened Cerveceria Catorce, which is this brewery I'm sitting at. It's a really cool space, music venue on a coffee farm, again, underneath 3 volcanoes. The beer is delicious. Y'all should come down and try it at some point. And now we're sitting here 35 years later doing stories upon stories.
This is an unpublished story. One of the things I'm interested in with writing and stories right now is that they're dying because the internet and social media and short attention spans, but also AI, and no one even reads short stories, whether they're fiction or nonfiction. No one reads those or buys those. Have you ever seen this until I emailed it to you the other day?
I had not seen it. I read it. I laughed out loud a few times, and I'm stoked to hear you read it.
So in 4th year of college, we would tell this story, and I guess people started requesting it. It was like a routine that developed almost. My dream was always to be a writer, and so at UVA, I was taking these fiction writing classes and writing these short stories. And I wrote this story that we're going to read right now. Tagazoot finished. They come to a rest in the shade, leaning against the fish shack with smells of fried calamari. They put their bags down in the dust to wait for the bus. The Tagazoot Plaza dry and quiet in the middle of the day, rocks dropping into the sea behind them. Across dry hills distance in the mountains, stores circled around the openness. The road goes by empty. An orange juice vendor alone in the middle of the square, asleep on his fruit. Heat. The sun comes down strong at the end of the day.
I can see that fish shack where we would eat calamari and these tiny little anchovies or sardines or something.
Because when we first got there, we came down on the bus. We went through Madrid with my cousin Carrie, right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. But then we rode a ferry over.
The bus went on the ferry. But anyway, then we got off in Marrakesh.
Those guys saved us. It was 2 couples from Spain, and they let us ride with them. They put one of us in each car. And so we were kind of split up. So we were and we were afraid we were going to die careening through the Atlas Mountains in those Renaults. They gave us a ride to Agadir. That's where we got out. And remember, there was a monster hailstorm.
We skidded out and almost died. Philly and Andrew ready to go. The last minutes in Tagazoot and 48 hours of bus on the horizon. Tan, Dirt between their toes, they sit there quietly. 10 days of Morocco behind them. The flat ocean has postponed dreams of Moroccan surf safari, but they've taken their lounging to a new level, played some serious rummy, eaten enormous meals for $1 apiece, and watched the setting sun splinter across the ocean, opening to the nights. Now it's time to leave. Villagers straggle across the plaza. The bus should be coming any minute and they're headed for town. Quickly, it's a congregation. A dozen Moroccans in full gear, dark skin, walking sticks, eggs in hand, headed for Agadir. Empty baskets ready for the market's oranges. Women wrapped in covers, eyes glaring out with mystery. The bus town is on its way and people are ready. The Americans edge into the crowd, Billy with a backpack and Andrew hugging his coffin surfboard bag. They stand out, but nobody cares. It's hot. It's dry. The dust covers everyone. The bus there, suddenly they are on their way back to Spain. Andrew commandeers the back of the bus, wedging surfboards across the last seat. They sit down on the hard plastic, grease on the back of the leg, and look at each other. Here we go. The bus pulls out of Tagazout. Can you believe how bad this is going to suck? Andrew realizes with pain. Just 2 more days on the bus. The road bends over a spectacular view, the Atlantic forever, and the sun low in the sky, diving for the water. The boys look through the dirty windows, the beauty-grabbing smiles. Darkness is coming.
I got to tell the story about when we showed up in Tagazout. We couldn't find a place to stay. So we find this guy. He's like, you need a place to stay? And we're like, yeah. He's like, I can give you 1 room or something. We're like, no, we both want our own room, or we both want our own bed or something like that. And he's like, I can get you the whole house, but it'll be $10 a night. But he's like, you got to wait here. So we go down to the beach and we wait. And then all of a sudden we realize, like, this guy is kicking his family out of their personal house so that we can stay there for $10 a night. They have all the mattresses out there under the sunshine, feeding them with like tennis rackets to get all the dust out of them.
Yeah, in fact, by mattress, is this what you mean?
Yeah, sitting right on the floor. Absolutely. Look at that CD case.
Take a moment to process on that. But that was the mattress, and here's the couch. And the apartment you're talking about where we stayed in Morocco.
Oh, that is a beautiful couch. I remember that couch.
But eventually we had to get him on this bus. Dropped off under streetlights in Agadir, Billy and Andrew followed directions to the next bus stop. There is an hour to kill, and they go for a walk. Arabic shouts and clouds of smoke pour out an open doorway. Through the scattered light, it's clear. Foosball is happening. Without a doubt, Andrew turns inside. Billy follows with a smile on his face. Andrew lines up a game. The short little kid, not more than 14, points him to the side of the table and steps up. He wants it one-on-one. All around, his elders gather. Moroccan football aficionados root for the young kid against the American. This bar is greasy. The dirt on the floor moves under your shoes. The table soccer handle's sticky. They drop the ball and begin to play. Billy to the side, watching, confident in Andrew. Opposing entourage cheers for the kid. He's got skills. The ball slams into the back of Andrew's goal and the men laugh. Dirty teeth, unshaven faces, t-shirts tight and ripped, black jeans and black hair. It's 1-0 and they start to roll a joint. The game goes on, but not 30 seconds later, and the biggest joint Billy's ever seen rolled and lit. Hash bulges in the paper. The man tough blows out a cloud of smoke and the smell is everywhere. The joint goes around the circle slowly. At the table, though, Andrew is serious. This kid has some kind of game and he is not trying to lose. Billy, waiting in the corner, widens his eyes as 2 policemen walk into the bar. He looks over through the smoke at this circle behind the foosball table. They've tossed the joint on the floor and they're kicking it around. Nobody wants it, and the cigarette scuttles back and forth through the dust, but the fire doesn't go out. Billy looks back to the cops in the doorway, the darkness behind them. What? They are leaving? Either they don't notice or they don't care. Whose ball still going? Bam! The kid takes the lead, 9-8 in game point. The bar is back to life and they hand the kid a smoke, a quick 2 puffs. The adolescent smiles and hands it back, looks down the table, sees the shot, lines it up, shoots, scores, game over.
I don't think he was even 14. I think he might have been like 12 or 11. But yeah, he was good. I was terrified we were going to end up in like Midnight Express or something. Like in jail in Morocco, getting rogered.
Say that weirdo on the beach was taking a dump.
That's right.
We were just sitting there at the bus station. It really had nothing to do with us. We weren't doing anything. And then he came up, accused us of smoking hash, but at that point we were just chilling. And he like tried to con us into like giving him money after he had been taking a dump in public.
He had his eyes on us while he was taking a dump.
So that's when the bus ride started. On the Moroccan bus, Billy and Andrew, bags tied on the roof, step into the bus. Total darkness. Squinting eyes stare back and the Americans don't want to walk back there. It looks crowded and mean. Everyone asleep or staring, nobody says a word. The front 2 seats are free and they sit down. The light from the street coming in the windshield and stopping on their faces. They think about the next 8 hours and wish they were somewhere else. Underneath them, the seats are less than plush. Not much room for knees, and every turn discovers a sharp angle. They wonder about what has happened, where they are going, what they are doing. Did we get through all the photos? Oh, we have that one of them I was naked in. Alright, anyway, back to it. Blind guy gets on the bus. The bus slows into a town late in the night. The street is wide and well lit and people are all about. Meat stalls line the side of the road, open and doing business. Every type of animal on sale here, skinned and hung upside down. Andrew shakes his head. What are all these people doing buying meat at 3 in the morning?
It was like brightly fluorescent lit, like the most fluorescent lights you've ever seen. 30 vendors on each side of the road, all with a load of animals hung up, and it was packed with people buying meat, raw meat.
And that wasn't even when those nomads got on and off the bus, was it?
That was a different part of the whole trip. They kept stopping the bus, and these people that looked like Jedi warriors or whatever would like get on and off the bus.
They weren't Jedi warriors. They were like sand people from like the start of Empire Strikes Back.
That's what I mean. I'm not a Star Wars guy, but they were wearing like these robes.
They were Bedouins is what they were. The remarkable thing is we didn't know where they came from. There was just darkness and mountains, and there was no bus stop, but somehow the driver knew where to stop.
They would come out of the darkness and then be standing on the side of the road. They'd get on, and other people would get off and walk off into the desert.
And some of them had livestock, right?
Sheep and goats. We're like kind of dozing off and stuff. This guy gets on, but he has like those crazy blind eyes that are just like totally cloudy. And he's like feeling his way onto the bus, sits down in the driver's seat of the bus. And I'm like, that's kind of strange. And then he starts the engine of the bus. And he's like revving the bus engine. And then he starts honking the horn like.
And we thought he was about to drive off blind and all. We didn't even realize it was all a big scam because everyone got back on the bus and he started demanding money from them. The bus pulls to a stop in the center of the market. The light from the street floods into the bus over the Moroccans. They all wake up and get off the bus. Billy, are all these people going to buy meat now? Andrew, I don't know what the hell is going on. Billy looks out the window, then back at the emptying bus. I guess we should get off and get something to eat. Billy and Andrew check out the meat. Looking up and down the rows of freshly skinned hanging animals, they are shocked by the size of the... Andrew turns to Billy. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? These things are enormous. They were like 2 feet. Yeah, what kind of animals are these anyway? These take up a good third of their body mass.
If only we were so lucky.
Andrew leans out the door of the bus and still lifes the butcher with his mustache thick and bushy. 2-foot knife in hand, chopping. The flash, and the man is angry, offended. They hide behind the dirty windows of the bus, nervous but secure. The man yells at them furiously forever. He was trying to kill us.
We were scared he was going to get on the bus and kill us with a gigantic knife.
But in the meantime, the blind dude saved the day.
created like the best distractions.
Instead of the bus driver, a blind man climbs into the driver's seat. Billy elbows Andrew. That guy is blind. Just as he turns the key and revs the engine, noise filling the night, the man starts honking the horn and pressing the accelerator, calling the people to return to the bus. He climbs out of the driver's seat and begins a Muslim chant, singing for the power. He continues to yell, taking a cup out and rattling for change. He makes his way down the aisle begging. The original bus driver climbs back into the seat. He puts a packet of meat on the dashboard and shifts gears. The bus slowly picks up speed. They leave the meat market behind. Andrew and Billy feel normal. The road passes by fast under the wheels of the bus.
That was a huge relief when the bus started going again and the guy hadn't killed us.
They press on into the night. The ride is going. Awake with the adventure, the boys talk. Man, what are we going to do next year? I'm not trying to go home. Andrew agrees. I can't stand the idea of that. I know, man. We are going to go back there, have to deal with one more year of school, all the while listening to our parents badger us. What are you going to do after school? This is how it used to be. Nowadays, kids have already broken their parents in before they get there. Don't you think you should get an internship? Do you think you should go to graduate school right away? I know such and such who offer to get you started in corporate management. I look around at my parents and their friends and all these successful people, and they all seem to suck. Andrew turns back to the window, resting his head on the cold glass and closing his eyes against the night.
That part of the story was like hilarious to me when I was reading it, because I'm sitting here in Guatemala at a brewery drinking beer I make. I did graduate from college the same day as you, and I had no idea what I was going to do. I didn't apply for one job. I didn't do one interview, but I did get one job offer out of the blue to work at an insurance company. I considered it for like 6 or 7 seconds, and I'm pretty glad I didn't end up selling insurance, because it was the safe and logical thing to do, you know?
Billy elbows Andrew to attention because they wake up. Did you see the livestock walk on the bus? No. Yeah, let me tell you. Billy leans forward, expression all over his face, his eyes wide, barely controlled by arching eyebrows. Just now, while you were asleep or something, the bus stopped in the middle of the road to pick up a group of nomads. They all had this Yoda get up. Short guys with brown capes and hoods, walking sticks, standing around in a little group on the side of the road waiting for the bus at 4 a.m. Who knows what they were doing? Anyway, they got on the bus and one of them had a goat. You can't see it now because the back of the bus is so damn dark. I hope it doesn't take a crap.
And they just walked it down the aisle like it was an everyday occurrence, which it was.
Where the hell are they going with a goat at this hour? Pretty cool, isn't it? Yeah, actually, that is real cool. You know what? This bus ride is no joke. Billy smiles and rubs his hands together. Not too slouchy. Outside, the first warmth of dawn glows behind the inland mountains. Andrew thinks back hours to the rising moon. Remember how long ago we left Tagazoot? And we're only a quarter done. See, when I was writing this, it was just for class, which I really didn't want to deal with, so I had to wrap up this story. I had cut it off a quarter of the way through. You talk about experience, this has been some bus ride. Absolutely. Let's talk about it. Local foosball whooping by a 14-year-old hash fiend, this crazy bus driver and his mission to flip on every curve, the meat market raging in the middle of the night with giant and a blind man starting the bus, and now we've got a live animal back here. Think about it, Billy. We've still got 36 hours to go, and that's not even going into the whole week in Tagazoot. It's not like we've been sitting around bored the entire trip. Billy, tired and smiling? No. Not bored at all. Morocco, it's pretty cool. I'm starting to get used to these plastic seats. Andrew taps Billy and points out the window. It's getting light out, man. I can't even wait for today. As the Moroccan bus moves under the spreading sun into the outskirts of the city, the boys look out the window, smiling. This is Casablanca. Where the story finishes is like we're just getting going, and then we had 4 hours to like sort out our tickets, which were all jangled, and then we got going and met those girls.
They were like super nice to us, and they spoke like 10 words of English, but they gave us some of their McDonald's. The McDonald's had just opened, and it was like the biggest news in the town.
But anyway, then we carried on and we went onward on the bus, and eventually we had to go over the ferry, over the Strait of Gibraltar. How old were we? 21?
21, yeah.
When you get on the 40-hour bus ride, you're pretty much like mentally prepared, right?
We were pretty well prepared for that ride. I mean, it was no picnic getting down from San Sebastian to Tagazout, on the way down. So we kind of knew what we were getting into. I gotta say, the meat market blew all the expectations out of the water. I mean, the guy with the knife, honestly thought we might get killed.
When we crossed the Alice Mountains, the one guy threatened us with a huge knife. We got an incredible ride with these Spaniards in these 2 Renault 4s, remember, Billy?
Correct. Basically like Volkswagen Bugs, but kind of more boxy. We woke up in this sketchy-ass hotel in Marrakech. It included this like gnarly breakfast, and we're sitting at breakfast and telling these guys that we're trying to get to Agadir or whatever, and they allowed us to jump into their cars with them.
No, they were on our bus that arrived in Marrakech. We got off that bus at like midnight in the Marrakech Square, which was like shut down in desert land, remember?
Yeah. I was terrified at that point. So those guys were like our lifeline for the first day there, and like totally saved us, and then ended up giving us a free ride, like 8 hours or something. And we're like careening through the Atlas Mountains in a hailstorm where the hail was 4 inches deep, and these cars weigh like nothing. And you're in the car ahead of me, and it has that surfboard bag of yours up on the roof rack. And I'm like thinking the car's gonna like take off. You're like skidding around in front of me, and I'm like, man, this is it. But somehow we made it.
No, totally. I remember. So they hydroplaned off the road. The only thing that slowed them down was us all almost dying. Shortly thereafter, if not as a part of the same incident, we like went into like a pit stop and got into some like scene with our drivers. Well, they offended the Moroccans. The dude drew a knife on us and we had to talk our way out of it. I mean, we didn't, but the Spaniards did. It's crazy how now it's totally different than it was back then, because truth is, like, the real radical people that traveled and opened up all these new areas in the early 80s or whatever on the backpacker trail, by the time we were traveling, we already felt like it was kind of old and passe, and we were behind the times, and we were like just like collecting the remnants. But now it's crazy.
When you and me were living in Guatemala like 25 years ago, you had a lot of time for your trips to develop. You'd hang out at the cafes or at the bars. You'd meet some people, you'd meet some fellow travelers, and you'd kind of like take your trip from there and make decisions. What I see now is everyone comes in with like an agenda, like, okay, I'm going to spend one night here in Antigua. I'm going to go up to Lake Atitlan for one night. And then on my third night, I'm going to hike the volcano. And then I'm going to get out of here. And I'm going to post everything I do on Instagram so that people can see it. It's changed travel so much, the social media thing and the instant gratification of being able to show your friends what you're doing. I remember when you first got to Guatemala, it was November 1998. Hurricane Mitch hitting us in Central America, causing major chaos. Our parents can't get in touch with us. They think we're like laying in a riverbed somewhere. And now things are totally different. I think it's hard to find an experience like the one you and me had in Morocco. Back when we were doing it, we had no plan. All we had were like sketchy paper guidebooks that were outdated by the time we were using them. We had to figure it out on the fly. Reliving it with you today has been awesome. I prefer reliving it on paper and in my own brain than look like scrolling through my Instagram or whatever. So I encourage people to journal while they're traveling so they can look back on it years later and actually relive it in a different way than just like scrolling through some photos, you know?
All right, Billy, thank you so much for being here. Stories Upon Stories, episode 2. Couldn't have done it without you.
Well, thanks for having me, Jake. You know, I love you, man. This has been super fun. I can't wait to see what you're going to do next on this Stories Upon Stories.
Darkest all around. Let's go.